value of £100, that's pretty decent, I would think.
Yep. Yep. No, that's great. What about these CFCs from your experience? What kind of populations do we need? What kind of population densities do we need to make something like Andover work? I mean, Andover is the type of model, I think, from a capacity size that they've sold to most of these other grocery customers. Any thoughts on that?
You mean what type of? I mean, Andover as a warehouse can do 60,000 orders, right?
Right.
I think if you're a board of a CEO, you wouldn't go for that. You'd say that, can you build us a 10,000 or a 20,000 orders per week warehouse? We just want to try it out. We don't want to sink the whole business just yet on Ocado's fulfillment process. I think what they'll say is, set something up, try and do 20,000 orders per week in a high density area. I think Ocado, my years of working at Ocado and Tesco.com, the online proposition is most efficient and most economically effective in high density city areas. Mm-hmm. That's where it really, really works. It's best. So that's where you get the most orders in a van. That's where you can basically be quite close to your customer, so that there aren't long journey times of getting too close to the customer through, taking the customer orders on the back of a heavy goods vehicle, then back to a customer site, and then to the final customer. I think what you'll find is it will work really, really effective in cities, and you need it in close to city locations, and you need it. So 20,000 is just a test site, really. It works the most effective if you've got 100,000 orders per week. The most efficiency you'll get, the more you have, the more volume you have, the more efficient it'll be, like cost per order. And so I know we were, and I know we still want, because Hatfield started at 100,000 orders, and we managed to squeeze 150,000 orders out of it. Jordan, Ocado managed to do over 200,000 orders, and over at this, I think that 60,000 orders capacity. It was just a little bit small, I think. The economics were always a bit tight because of how small it was.
Was there any kind of rules of thumb on people per kilometer or something? At kind of that Andover size. I mean, do we need X number of people per kilometer? Was there any rules of thumb there?
And you're talking about the customers, are you talking about the staff, or are you talking about how many customers?
The customers. Yeah, if I were to look at, I don't know, this is a bad example, but London, I don't know the density of people per square kilometer there, but
it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. What it works like is, the beauty about these warehouses, is it's different to, you've got to move away from the thinking of how the old bricks and mortar was done, which is set up in a location where you have, you have a population size of 100,000 of a certain socio group makeup. Yeah, that's perfect. Right, let's set up there, and we need to be in the best locations around here, X, Y, and Z, where there's good transport and good parking and so forth. This is somewhat different. The beauty, the thing about, and then it comes back to what I said, the bigger the warehouse, the more efficient it becomes. You don't need to be located right next to the customer. It helps, but it's not the be and end all. Ocado had one warehouse to start off with, had two warehouses, and at the end only had three really operating warehouses. And but it had 20 satellite buildings. And what these satellite buildings were just warehouses, those carcasses basically, where drivers would meet, be given their products, and then they would take it to the local customer network. But you don't need you don't need to have the warehouse in multiple locations. What you need is it's better to have a ginormous warehouse which fills most effectively and cost effectively in the long run. And what you do is you basically have satellite buildings which will house the vans and the drivers that will take it to the local areas. That's what you need. That's a net. So you need network, but those and then those drivers and those warehouses should be really set up where the density of population is high. So those satellite buildings should be close to where there's the right socio groups for your customer type, and you should basically the vans need to you need to draw a circle from that satellite building, and you need to make sure the vans don't need to go more than probably about 60 minutes drive or 45 minutes drive from that warehouse. Because the more tightly packed the customers are, the more effective the last mile is. The most expensive is that last mile bit. And so, and so Ocado used to do, because they had a wider network, so I think they covered about 70% of the UK population, and that might have changed, and that might be a 2017 number. But they had 20 satellite buildings covering. They had 20 satellite buildings covering 70% of the UK, and you know the size of the UK, right? So they managed to cover 70% of the market. So 65 million. The population is 65 million. They managed to cover 70% of the 65 million people, having 20 buildings. And what they generated was, and this is public knowledge, right? Their drops for a van per week. A typical van, the best site's got over 20. The worst site's got less than 20. So every order that you do, on average, there needs to be 20 orders in a van, and ideally you want to get 25, 30 if you can in a van. And it's always that van always is limited by weight rather than mass. So you weight out before you mass out.
Yep. What about the cost to operate one of these CFCs for kind of like this third party model? We've seen a lot of people kind of estimating 1% of sales, and so they would say, all right, they're going to build for Kroger a 350 million ultimate capacity facility. They're going to build and operate the hive, and it's going to cost them 1% of that sales capacity to run it from a cost perspective, which I guess kind of implies $3.5 million. I mean, does that seem even remotely reasonable?
No.
Yeah.
1% to run a fulfillment site. I mean, I did the maths for Ocado for you just now, where I said £100 order has a cost at the high end of say £7 or £8 in a low generation technology, and the best generation technology has a cost of £4 or £5, which is 5%, right? Fulfilling. I don't know how you why. The 1% would only include the engineering staff then.
Yeah, I think that's what they were getting at, is that if they build this, if they build this for a third party customer, all they really have to worry about is kind of the engineering staff managing that hive, not anything else. So
that's fine. They're straightforward. the mass